It didn't happen in 49, 61, 63 or 69 when they reached the final. But the class of 2021 have delivered. Leicester City are FA Cup winners at last and are history makers at Wembley.
Leicester Till I Die TV, home of the FA Cup winners.
We've done it once. Can we do it twice? We'll know on Sunday. This is Leicester Till I Die TV.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
The Leicester Till I Die shop is now open. For all your Leicester Till I Die merchandise, visit the Leicester Till I Die shop at our website. Leicester Till I Die TV, your first choice for everything Leicester City. Tune in and join in now.
Are you ready? I'm saying, are you ready?
Matt Elliott here.
Hi, Alan Smith here.
Hey guys, Ian Hume here.
Hi everybody, Jerry Taggart here.
Be sure to watch
Chris and Leicester Till I Die TV
for all the latest Leicester City news and information.
You can also subscribe on YouTube and various social media channels.
for the latest updates and news on Leicester City Football Club.
Come on, you foxes!
Till I Die TV, your first choice for everything Leicester City. Tune in and join in now.
Right, Chris.
All right there. Good evening, everybody. How the devil are we all? Is it just me that's excited about this weekend? Let me presume it's an East Midlands derby, and we have got a couple of guests in today. We've got, the wise old owl. He always turns up. It's either that or, he's out walking the street. So we're going to say hello to Craig in a minute. We've got Des, who's just joined us. He's in the green room there. I can see a Nottingham Forest fan. So I'm sure the banter will be flowing. The last time we played, Nottingham Forest, 2014. Oof. I was but a wee nipper then. Yeah, right. But the last FA Cup tie was the 17th of January 2012. We won 4-0. This is where you can find Leicester Till I Die to watch and to listen.
Watch us on YouTube. Listen on your favourite podcast platform or ask your smart speaker to play the podcast Leicester Till I Die.
Subscribe, like, follow and join in now.
Please do. And if you haven't subscribed on YouTube, it is Leicester Till I Die TV. Please give us a subscribe and smash that like button. It does help the channel. And if you're a Forest fan, you can do it for the weekend and then change your mind next week if you want to. I'm I've got to be honest with you, I haven't been this excited since probably the Community Shield, to be honest with you. We've got to say a big thank you to obviously Nottingham Forest, and I know I want to start with a thank you just to show that I'm humble and that I can say thank you to Nottingham Forest for beating Arsenal. Not only for that they beat Arsenal, but they set up this tie. It's all
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the main event of the evening. 60 minutes of football fun and banter with Chris and Leicester Till I Die TV. Are you ready? Let's get ready to rumble.
He's got Wood next to him. Anthony Canocker finds Wood. Wood should score. Wood finds Canocker. He's done it. Anthony Canocker has done it. Nottingham has been painted blue. Anthony Canocker has scored the goal. It's the goal. Allez le bleu. Allez le bleu. Forest 2, Leicester 3.
Oh, allez le bleu. Good evening, Craig. Do you remember that?
Good evening. I do remember that. I have fond memories of most of the the Forest games that I can remember. Although I did remember going to. I think we had them in the cup away a few years ago, and it was a miserable 0-0 away at their place. But I also remember back in, I don't think it was an FA Cup tie, but there was one back in the early days of the King Powers when we beat them 1-0. I think we beat them. It was the first time we'd beaten them for a long, long time, and we beat them 1-0 with a goal by a young lad called Tommy Wright. Not the winger of the same name, but he was a local lad who I'm now reliably informed is a copper.
That Tommy Wright.
Yeah, but nowadays, but back then he scored the only goal in a 1-0 victory.
Well, I'm thanking Des for holding on until we bring him in here, but we've got to do this, haven't we?
Leicester City FC on this day in history with Leicester Till I Die TV.
Now, you know that we normally do this. This is the Leicester City on this day, a miscellaneous book. What I like to call the Bible, but you made it when you get a mention in here. And there's actually about 5 for Saturday the 4th. Well, different days, but the 4th of February, which always seems to fall on a Saturday, according to this. But 1961, Leicester City became the first team to win at Tottenham Hotspur in a season that ended with the Londoners winning the Division 1 and FA Cup double. 1961. And of course, on this day in 1930, a young Craig Bird was born.
Yeah, a little bit later, Chris.
All right, 1932. I'll give it you.
Yeah, at least get me into the 60s, please. Even I wasn't born for that Spurs game, but no,
I was just, unfortunately.
Yeah, it is the day I entered the world. So where else would I rather spend it than with our lovely Leicester Till I Die family?
Well, and from us to you, this is it.
This is Space Command to Zoom. All systems are go for your message to Craig.
Hey Craig, it's your birthday. I'm in charge of the stars and I'm here to say, hey Craig, you're the big star today. My name is Zoom and I live on the moon, but I came down to Earth just to sing you this tune. 'Cause Craig, it's your birthday today. A present for you I wanted to find, an outer space creature, a one of a kind, a wild womp or a cuckoo chew, a snaffle drop or a buzzer snoo, or maybe a 3-eyed tickle shay for your birthday. Did you ask, what's a cuckoo cue? Well, up on the moon, it's nothing new. But that won't do for you on your birthday. I searched behind the clouds and stars. I even zoomed my flight to Mars and met my friend the Saucer Man, and he said, hey, Zoom, I got a business plan. What you're ready is something new. So how about a song just from you? And so tonight, when you're in bed, I'll be singing to you as I zoom overhead, singing Craig, happy
moving on quickly.
I gotta say, thank you very much. In all my 58 years,
You've never had anything quite like that.
I've never heard that and never had anything quite like that. So thank you very much and much appreciated. And apologies to anyone else who sat through that. But for me, thank you very much.
You are most welcome. Good. We're going to say moving on swiftly, and he has unfortunately had to sit through all that. I don't know which was more painful for him, the Ali LeBlanc jingle or the happy birthday, Craig. We're going to say good evening to Des, our Nottingham Forest fan. Good evening, sir.
Evening, Chris. Happy birthday, Craig.
Thanks, Des. How you doing?
I'm good, thank you. I'm looking forward to it as much as you guys. Your audition to be Forest's biggest rivals when Derby go bust. I can understand why you're looking forward to it so much.
Let me ask you that, Des, before we start, and we'll go to the comments in a second. Leicester, we see you as our biggest rival, I guess. I mean, for me personally, I think it's Coventry. That's simply because I used to have a mate that was a Coventry fan, and they obviously are the nearest. For some, it's Derby. But overall, we tend to sort of see Forest as one of our main rivals. But Forest, I don't think, seem to look at Leicester like that.
I'm not sure. Do you know, we like to say what I've just said there. Basically, we always say when we play you lot, we only hate Derby and all this kind of thing. There's a lot of the younger generation who've not played Leicester for such a long time, who claim that Derby are only rivals, and sometimes Sheffield United are more important than Leicester. That's not true, do you know. And I quite like the fact that you hate us so much. Do you know, sometimes with Derby we kind of accept that they beat us sometimes, we beat them sometimes, but it's almost like you've gone and done what you've done. We can't lay a glove on you. You can't lay a glove on us almost, you know, at times. And it kind of gets forgotten about. But I think Leicester are a massive rival. In many ways, Derby will always be the bigger rival to us. But I don't like getting beat by Leicester, probably more than Derby. Like I say, because sometimes I know we beat them. Sometimes I know they beat us. And it's just that feeling that you really, really sort of despise us. And so I want us to rub it in your face a little bit.
Do we despise them, Craig?
I think despise is a strong word, but I think it's like anything that, you know, when I was growing up, and particularly obviously through the 70s, and you had your glory years, you know, Leicester was so far off the pace, so you were the big cheese in the East Midlands or whatever. So I think you'll always see that as a rivalry. You know, Derby had a bit of a play at it for a year, didn't they, when they won the league? But I don't think they've done anything else since. They may have won something like the Simod Cup or something. I don't know, but it's always been Forest really, because you look up to them. I think in terms of the position that you were in the league, you were always up there. But then obviously you've had the barren years, and we've managed to have a bit of success. So anyone of a certain age, I would think, turns their eyes back to Leicester and slightly envious of what we've managed to do these last few years.
I mean, like I said in the introduction, 2014 was the last time we actually played each other. So it's going quite a way back, and we've both been down in the depths of the third tier. I mean, how do you see it, Des? Because we obviously came up from the from the Championship. We nearly got relegated, but managed to stay up with the Great Escape. We then went on 5,000 to 1 to win the league. Everybody was saying, "Oh, that's the biggest story ever." But I know it's grinded on a couple of a few Forest fans, more than a few, I guess, because of course you came up, and did you not win it the same year that you came up?
Absolutely, and then won 2 European Cups. Did you forget?
I wasn't going to mention that bit, you know.
No, you're right. I'm personally, I'll admit it, I've got a big issue when they say it's the greatest story ever. It's a fantastic story, you know. But for me, the Forest story is better. You know, you only have to watch I Believe in Miracles. But I think what you find with Forest fans at the moment is, whilst of course there's a lot of rivalry, a lot of envy, there's a lot of admiration as well, sort of aimed in Leicester's direction. The way the club's run, you know, the way it's sort of developed over the last few years. It's dealt with winning and moving forward. You're never going to be a top 4 side in reality, but
No.
you keep moving forward. You know, the training ground obviously encroaching on Nottingham's talent as well. But all these things are what you have to do if you want to be winners. And there's a lot of admiration. You know, lots of people. I'm a big one for Twitter and following what's going on. There's lots of Forest fans saying, look at the Leicester model. You know, when it comes to, we've just got Category 1, for example, and of course we're bringing through a lot of youngsters. But there's a lot of admiration this end, as well as all that kind of sort of rivalry. And that's where, when I say despise, it might be a strong word. It seems that you just kind of like don't like us, and we don't like you really. But looking in at what's happened, you can't help but sort of admire the situation. Don't get me wrong, when you was playing in the FA Cup final last year, and that goal went in at the end from Chilwell, I was up off the sofa. You know? I kind of hated the fact you won the FA Cup more than the league.
Well, I don't think you've got the FA Cup, have you?
Well, not since 1959, and I don't even think Craig can remember that.
I can't, mate. Thank you. Thanks for pointing that out.
I know it was the one cup, I think, that Brian Clough never won. I think that was
eluded him, of course, didn't it? We got to the final in 91.
Yeah. But we'll just go through some comments before we go look at the game itself. Dora on tour, up the Forest. Niall Kane, good evening, Niall. How are you? Louise, good evening. How the devil are you? Nippon, good evening. NS Sports TV, big up to you, mate. TM, hi guys, and happy birthday, Craig, from our resident Spurs fan. Scott, thanks, good evening, sir. Welcome along. How are you, Spencer? Who's going 6-0 to the Foxes? Wish I had your confidence, Spencer, I'll tell you. Scott says, happy birthday, old wise owl. You're not a wise old owl, you're an old wise owl.
More like
LDH, happy birthday, another year wiser.
Thank you.
I won't go that far, LD, I tell you. Terry, another few years, Craig, and you'll be in my team, Leicester Pensioners FC.
Hey, I'm sure I could get in there now. Where do I sign?
Dora on tour, couldn't wait for you, Des. Where is he? Get him on. He's on now. Scott says, Chris, I never realised you could hit some of them high-pitched notes. Oh, you'd be surprised. Don't tell you what I'm going to do to hit those high-pitched notes, though. Is that the longest birthday song ever? It was, but it was worth it. I do feel it was worth it. Dor says you've got to give us abuse. I'm sure there will be plenty of abuse shared between us as we go through the show. Scott, he says Scott's getting it in straight away. Forest haven't been relevant since 1980s. And how long will it be before we have any stars on our shirts? Melina, good evening. How are you from Canada? Welcome along. In fact, in recent seasons, the best thing that's come out of Forest must be Wes Morgan. That is true. Do you remember Wes? I mean, he was at Forest when we bought him, Wes Morgan. What are your memories of him?
Oh, I was devastated. Obviously, he was a club legend for us. I think for many years, one or two people would sort of tip him to do well, but he'd kind of have a nightmare every so often, and it set his career back. You know, nobody ever came in for him, and we thought he was just going to stay with us forever. I think he made 400 appearances for us.
Yeah.
And I was a massive fan. He's from around the corner from the same area around the corner from where I live. You know, so it was just an absolute legend. And the fact he went to Leicester again. If he'd gone and done that elsewhere, you know, I'd be calling for a statue in the meadows here where I live, you know, but he went and did it at Leicester, and you're like, oh, God, you know, why does he have to have that kind of affinity with them as well?
We accepted him well, Craig, though, didn't we? We never sort of, because obviously coming from Forest, you buy a player from a team you hate, there's always that kind of, you've got to earn your stripes, but we kind of accepted him straight away, didn't we?
I'm not sure straight away, to be honest, because I can't remember being particularly excited by the signing, because when I'd seen him for Forest, maybe I just saw him on those ones when he threw in the nightmare days. I don't know, but he never looked like the most mobile of centre halves and he always looked like he could get caught out by pace. But those things never changed. What you learnt about him was that he had a bit of a football brain. He could organise people around him, and he made the most of the skills that he had. And that's really, those footballers are rare. Those who you can clearly see are limited in terms of on the ball ability, but when they can draw other people together, I mean, that whole defence that he pulled together to win the league was a ramshackle defence, to be honest, and none of them would have really got in anybody else's team, but he marshalled them through. So he's been a fantastic servant for us. I don't like that phrase, a servant. The most highly paid servants in the world, But yeah, as I say, I think he took a little bit of time to be accepted, but he proved himself on the pitch, and that's where you want people to prove themselves.
He had the brain, didn't he? And you don't always need the legs if you've got the brain, And
I'll tell you, Chris, what he is. I've got a picture here. Look, I don't know if you can see this.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I saw him last summer in a pub near me. They threw a party for him for his birthday, and he's the nicest guy in the world as well. He's absolutely brilliant. All night I wanted a picture, and I used my girlfriend as an excuse for.
yeah.
That's
why I used to take my son everywhere with me.
It was like that back four. He was cajoling us in.
I remember. I'm sure I read over the past couple of weeks something about that move to Leicester, that it wasn't something he particularly wanted, but he thought he wasn't being treated fairly at Forest. He wasn't getting the deal that he thought he should get in comparison with other players. So when that opportunity came to move, he took it, but albeit a little bit reluctantly.
Forest was heading in the same direction as Derby. And of course, this is the big gripe, that they're not selling their players and the prized assets. And it came to a point where we bought players in over several seasons on too much money for too much, and then when Wes Morgan went knocking on the door for a contract, they kind of sort of dismissed him, didn't renew it, and then he started thinking, well, what's the point of me being here? He was the best player in the team. He was for a few years, and despite those concerns, what we've both mentioned, he was still the most consistent performer, and his contract was starting to run down, and all of a sudden, the club needed money. They sold Patrick Bamford to Chelsea without even playing a game for £1 million, up £1.5 million, I think. And they sold Wes Morgan, and it balanced the books till the end of the season. It looked like we were spiralling back into League One. Steve Cottrell come in and for some reason got something out of what we already had. So it kind of worked for everybody in the end. I don't think he was. He'd set his target to move to Leicester to upset Forest. I think it was who wants him right now. I think Pearson was in charge, wasn't he? And Pearson is obviously a Pearson type player.
Yeah.
So that opportunity come along, and he didn't have to move. I kind of roughly know where he lives. I don't know where he lives, but in terms of getting to Leicester, it's quickly down the A46. So it all made sense for Forest to get the money, for Wes to get a contract, and obviously sort of keep on taking. Was you in league? Was you in the Championship when you signed him, or the Premiership?
I think the Championship.
We weren't in the Premiership. No, we were in the Championship.
I think we were in the Championship. Yeah.
Yes,
again, that caused us a lot of sort of. I thought that was the case. That's why I mentioned it. That caused us a lot of sort of. Well, we're selling one of our best players to one of our biggest rivals, who were also one of our biggest competitors.
Yes, yeah. Well, let's know. We have got a game to talk about, and we'll be doing that straight after this. Yeah, just go to Leicester or www.leicestertillidie.com/shop, leicestertillidie.com/shop, and you get the full range of merchandise. I know Craig's waiting for the Mankini to come out. We're still we're still looking at that, Craig.
I think there's a material shortage. There's not enough to make it.
Yeah. So it is the FA Cup, and it is an East Midlands derby. What more could we ask for? Sunday the 6th, 4 p.m. It's on BBC One, BBC 5 Live, and Talk Sport. But why not? Why not do what I'm sure Craig won't be doing, if he's got any sense, but why not put the radio on or put the telly on, turn the volume down, and do a watch along with Leicester Till I Die TV. You'll have the pleasure of myself and Steve Lynix, ex-winger for Leicester City, having a chat about the game. So we won't be doing commentary. We'll let you watch that, but we'll be having a chat about it on in the background. It's like being down the pub with your mates, except it's me and Steve Lynix. Des, it's pretty close there in our history of playing each other. You've got 39 wins. We've got 40 with 27 draws. So it's very tight.
Yeah, and I'm just looking at the most recent fixtures. It's very tight there as well. Lots of draws. Of course, you had that big FA Cup win and the 3-2 that you alluded to. But the last time we came to your place, we won 2-0. So I think, who knows? I was speaking to a Leicester fan this afternoon, as it was, and he's saying that you're going to do us this time. He was giving it all out as soon as he confirmed he'd got his ticket. But he was giving it us all back. But before that, he was saying, "You're going to do it. You're going to do us. We've got the kids out." Do you know, my thoughts this week have kind of gone from being confident because Forest have been playing well. We've been flying. We've bounced back from a bad result. We had a bit of a shocker last time out against Cardiff, and we bounced back previously. But so I was confident. But as the week's gone on, worrying about some of the players you've got, I do think if Leicester score first, there's a potential that you go on and win quite comfortably. I said the same in the Arsenal game. The longer Forest hold out, we tend to grow into games in the second half as well. A tight game, I can see Forest getting something, perhaps a 1-0 win or nicking it on penalties. But it's about keeping Leicester out, and it's obviously dependent on the lineup. It'll be really interesting to see who plays. I think Forest will be a bit of a mixture. We've got a few injury concerns, big players as well. Joe Worrell, Lewis Grabban won't play. 1 or 2 new signings I think he might just put in because he can, because it's that kind of game where whilst we're not fighting for league points, it's a case to throw someone in who we might want to check the fitness on. So I don't think we'll know exactly what's going to happen until we see the lineups. And of course, then you never know what's going to happen, but you might have a bit of an inkling of how it's going to go.
Do you remember this one, Craig? The last time we played, I mentioned it before, February 2014, 2-2. Jamie Patterson and Andy Reid for Forest, and Vardy, who put us ahead, and then Mahrez grabbed a point at the end. Do you remember that game?
Only vaguely. I remember Andy Reid was always a pain. Always. He's that type of player, though, wasn't he? I think he was a pain for every team that he played against, to be honest. But yeah, it's. I agree with Des. I don't think there's going to be a lot in it, to be honest. I think we'll go fairly strong in this. I think the 2 cups that we're still in, I think Brendan's going to go strong in those and just look for a mid-table finish almost. If we look like we might get dragged into a bit of trouble, then he may take it a little bit more seriously in terms of league. But I think I think he knows, and most of the fans know, that any sort of top 4, top 6 is probably going to be beyond us now. The gap's too big. Yeah. So the cups take even more priority. So I think he'll go pretty strong, to be honest.
I mean, Craig, sticking with you, looking at that there, I don't think we're going to get into sort of any particular trouble, because I think there are actually teams that are worse than us. There's a lot of teams that are worse than us, and we're not having the best of seasons. But like you say, we're defending champions. That means also defending cup holders. and that does mean something, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think the players will have got a taste for it last season. You know, you want, once you win something, you want to win the next one as well. So, you know, and there's players there who will have that appetite. You know, we know Schmeichel's come out and said he still wants to win trophies. You know, so I think he'll go focused on this. So, and it will come down to the desire, I think, that we have. We show we can put out a really strong team on paper, but sometimes they don't turn it in on the pitch because that desire is not there. They have a bit of a over arrogance, over confidence about them, and they can get caught out. So I think we'll need to keep Forest quiet. You know, it's going to be a great crowd. The atmosphere should be fantastic in there, I'm sure. So it'll be a vociferous home crowd, and I think we just need to keep a lid on it for the first sort of 15 minutes and then grow ourselves into the game as well.
I mean, Des, I thought you were in the playoffs, actually. I was surprised when I did this and saw that you dropped out of them. You are on top of Coventry, which is always a good thing. Your hopes for this season, would you sort of go, I mean, I'm sure you would go for a top 4 over the cup. So is it, you know, or do you really want to sort of get one over on Leicester? That means more than anything.
I think in reality, we're that fed up of not being in the Premier League. We just want a chance at it. We want the playoffs. I've said since bizarrely, we got beat 4-0 by Fulham about 6 games into Cooper's reign. And I've said since then, we're going to get the playoffs. I really firmly believe we're going to get the playoffs. Just the way we played that day, we took the game to them. We got a bit of a hiding at the end of it. But I'm really confident we're going to do that. What I will say about this game in particular is we just got beat twice we just got beat twice in 2 games we probably thought we got a chance in, and we played Arsenal, and it reinvigorated us. It got us going again. Again, we was looking for that bounce back. What I mentioned earlier about after the Cardiff game and looking for that bounce back where we need to go again. If we beat, because we played Arsenal, then we played Derby and beat them, and we was on such a high. And it built the momentum again, and we've just teetered on the edge of those playoffs. So what I'd really look, I don't really want to choose between the cup and the playoffs. I want us to beat Leicester and take that momentum into the rest of the season, and really show, because after the Arsenal game, Steve Cooper was saying it. He says these players need to believe they're better than they actually are, and that's really important. If he believes that, and if he's instilling that into them, you know, games like this become winnable all of a sudden. You know, from having no chance. The last time you came down in the cup, when it was 0-0 at the City ground. But you were miles better than us overall, and then you went and thumped us 4-0 at your place. This time it doesn't feel like that. It does even. I think you might have even been in the same league then, but it doesn't feel like that now. It doesn't feel like you're going to come down, and it could happen because it always can with a Premiership and Championship team. But it doesn't feel like we're worried at that point. Again, we were sort of worried what you could do to us. But I think it's more about the way Forest perform, and when I say perform, I mean it's how we sort of how confident we are going into the game and in giving you a game. You know, if they go in with confidence and they forget the last result and it works out on the day and a couple of things fall our way. And we, like I say, with the Arsenal game, we grew into it. We've grown into a lot of games. If we grow into this one and believe we can do it, I think it's going to be a really good football match.
I mean, I don't expect you, I'll stick with you, Des, first, but I don't expect you to have sort of followed Leicester's season, but it's been very much, I think, that you could the only consistency about our season is the fact that we're inconsistent. And do you think, you know, that looking at us, that you could actually, you know, it's a good time to play us?
Yeah, as good a time as any time over the last 3 or 4 years. I do watch a lot of football. I watch a lot of Premiership football, and I'm kind of a bit of a stato like that. So I kind of know what's going on all the time around the Premier League, especially. And yeah, Leicester, I've been inconsistent. Again, it's that thing I said. When I don't like to admire the way you've grown as a club myself, but the players, some of those players you look at, and they're really, really good players. Some of the young lads, that Justin, the fullback, and Madison. I know he's a bit hit and miss with some fans, but you just look at those kind of players and think that's what Forest want in the Premier League, a vibrant young team. So looking at Leicester and seeing these vibrant players that if they progress in the way they're progressing already and they stay with Leicester, they're going to progress. So I think whilst there's a lot of inconsistency, that might be down to the fact you have got good young players who will be inconsistent, but also quite a few injuries. I know you've been hit this year with quite a few. So there's reasons for it. Again, if you put that first 11 out, it looks a real tough ask for Forest. But it's probably the best time in the last 3 or 4 years to play you as well.
Would you agree with that, Craig?
Yeah, I think so. And I mean, it's a free swing really for Forest, isn't it? That's the way you look at it. You literally have nothing to lose other than a cup tie. I know it sounds weird, but if you get beat and you get beat going down swinging, nobody's going to say anything against you. So it's all about attitude. I think a lot of this game is going to be in the players' heads. On both sides. You Forest guys that believing that you're a good team on the up, and a Leicester team that needs to realise that we're not necessarily as good as some of those players think they are. That they've got to be humble when they go on the pitch, particularly against a team. Again, no disrespect, from a lower division. You've got to match the work rate. It's always been that thing of match the work rate first, and then hopefully your talent will sort of nudge you over the line. I think when we've not come out with the right attitude, we've been caught out. So you're probably Forest's best chance is Leicester's attitude, I would say, in this game.
I mean, Craig, you touched on it there. We've got to sort of accept maybe we're not as good as we think we is. And I'm not sure whether it was Mark Lawrenson or one of the pundits came out and had a bit of a dig at the Leicester fans, saying that, we expect too much of the team. But I mean, that's just being a football fan. The more success you get, the more success you want, and whatever happens going forward, all the teams will always be compared to the Premiership winning team. I mean, how often Martin O'Neill summed it when he came in, when everybody was saying, "Oh, these were the Bloomfield years, they were good," and he said, "Well, what the bloody hell did they win? Nothing." But we have got to kind of rein it in. But I don't know if it's me, but I'm just not confident. This time last season or the season before, when we were, doing a lot better, I'd have been a lot more confident. But I am worried about this game.
I think what you've got to look at, I mean, Forest have got some good players. Let's not get away from that. I know you say a couple are out, but you've got some decent young players there. The fullback who's on loan from Spain. Yeah. I mean, that seems a weird loan move. I mean, to me, I don't know why that happened. I mean, you're basically rivals for the top 6 at the moment. And I must admit, I'd not seen a lot of him prior to that Arsenal game, but I mean, he was phenomenal in that.
He's been absolutely immense. And the reason there was Warnock questioned his attitude.
Right.
So he got dropped early in the season. And if we'd have signed him at that point, we'd have probably got him for about 50k. Wow. He's come in and he's been an absolute revelation, Spence. And now he's linked with Tottenham and Arsenal.
Yeah, well, we may be in the market for a right back. So watch this space. Des, I'm sure Wes will drive him down. But also the lad in midfield, who you turned a big offer down in the window, I think, didn't you?
Brennan Johnson, 20 million from Brentford. Again, they've almost gambled on that one. That one is we'll keep him to try and get in the playoffs, and if we don't go up, they'll come back anyway in the summer. But it's interesting you say that because I'm thinking now, who's your left back? Because he'll have a torrid time.
Yeah,
based on those two.
Well, it depends who he plays there. I mean, he could play James Justin down that side, or he could play the young lad Thomas. I think I would we haven't got a natural right back at the moment with Pereira being injured. So I think he may go with Justin down the right, but I think I'd like to see him down the left, to be honest, because we need to push Spence back rather than allowing him the freedom that Arsenal did to just bomb forward.
I think it's easier to probably predict the lottery numbers than it is our defensive lineup.
Yeah.
It hasn't been the same for 2 games running all season. And of course, we've got Castagna out as well.
Yeah.
Bertrand might be back, but I'm not going to get excited about that.
No.
And, Vestergaard, but Amarty's back, and bless him, that's the one good thing. I'm not sure about Evans. You've gone through a few managers recently, Des. Let's be honest. A lot of clubs have. I think you're sort of probably challenging Watford for the revolving door title. Steve Cooper, how happy are you with him at the moment?
Oh, absolutely over the moon. We've got, it's chalk and cheese from what we had to what we've got. You know, we had a manager, Chris Hughton, got a good reputation.
Yeah.
I'm not just saying it because I'm here. I was worried when he came in because we'd gone from one defensive manager to another. The manager seemed to have no plan B. We went and got Hughton. Everybody was excited, thought we'd got somebody who's going to stabilise the club after sort of blowing the playoffs in the biggest way you possibly ever could.
Yeah.
Against Stoke that day when Swansea needed a 4-goal swing to get in the playoffs. So we'd blown it. We got Chris Hughton in. He kind of did stabilise it to the point where we was never going to go down for a season. But then we started the following season exactly how we started under Lamucci. 4 or 5 games, didn't pick up a point. So we was looking for a new manager. Cooper was mentioned. Chris Wilder wanted the job, but apparently Cooper was the first choice of our new CEO. There's a lot of hype around. He's come from Barnsley and he's young. Dane Murphy, his name is. I don't really get him involved in CEOs and stuff because it's not relevant to what happens on the pitch. But this guy came with a lot of hype, and apparently his first, second, and third choice was Steve Cooper. They're both like developing young players. He'd seen what he'd done at Swansea over the last couple of years. From a Forest fan's point of view, and again, someone who watched football, I'd seen a bit of him, but I didn't know too much. I didn't know the ins and outs. And all we was hearing from Swansea was he's really, really negative. And I was like, oh God, here we go. But he came in, and it's just like the place has changed. He's told everybody the club's bigger than it is. The players are better than they are. He's given it a breath of fresh air. He's honest and relatable in interviews. He don't say the usual kind of cliched stuff that you hear out of Brendan Rodgers. But he's just a breath of fresh air. And I've heard a few things recently from respected people in the game, like the BT commentator Darren Fletcher, who's a big Forest fan. He said stuff like the Premiership managers want to send their players to Cooper because of the way he develops them. He's got a reputation in the game with bringing on young players. So we've got 1 or 2 young players in, 1 or 2 players he's worked with, and everything seems to be, apart from 1 or 2 results, the Fulham one, the Cardiff one, everything seems to be turning to gold. The Arsenal result, we beat Derby. We was losing 1-0 to Bristol City when he first come in, and we scored 2 in like the last 2 minutes of injury time. And it was just like we just kept winning and winning and winning. And all of a sudden, we've gone from not winning in 7 games, not getting a point, to on the verge of the playoffs. Since he's been at the club, we would be second.
Right. Say hello to Rudy there. He says we play against better players than them week in, week out. Be careful. These things come back and bite you on the bottom, Rudy. But Dorco's asking there, just very quickly, he's never been to the City Ground before. Are the natives friendly? I think Craig will probably agree with me on this and go, probably not on Sunday.
I don't think there'll be sort of mutual doffing of caps and handshakes prior to kickoff. That's for sure.
No. I mean, let's look at this. I mean, Craig, Leicester have won each of their last 7 FA Cup matches, the longest winning streak in the competition. Only Chelsea 11 and Man City 12 have won more matches in the competition since Brendan Rodgers arrived in February 2019. I think he's going to take it seriously.
I think he has to, because I mean, we know he's been under pressure from large sections of the fan base. You know, particularly as you said, you know, those who have short memories. I think the Leicester fan base is very much divided on a sort of pre-league winners and post-league winners. You know, in terms of their expectations.
Yeah.
But he's not had an easy ride this season. So an exit in the cup wouldn't be great anyway. An exit in the cup to a championship team who are your rivals down the road is going to bring him lots and lots of pressure. So even from a personal point of view, if he wasn't taking the competition seriously from the team's perspective, from a personal point of view, I don't think he can do anything other than take it very, very seriously.
I think as well, for me, a lot, and you know, we've both got sort of British managers there, but I think if you've got a foreign manager and a foreign player, they don't always get the sort of rivalry that there is between the, you know, teams and the local derbies. And like you say, and I'm sure Forest fans are thinking exactly the same. If you're going to go down, you want to go down fighting. You don't want to be going down and losing 4 or 5-0. Would you agree, Des?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's an interesting point you make about the foreign managers, British managers, sorry, not foreign managers. Because I think sometimes the foreign managers in these games are almost inclined to put out the reserves. You see it with Arsenal a lot, you know, and it's almost the get out of jail free for them, you know, because it's the FA Cup and it's something they don't need to concentrate on. But these guys, again, are trying to build reputations. And looking at Rodgers from a Forest fan's point of view, at a club like Leicester, and it's the same at Forest, this is the problem we've had for many years. He's got to do something every year other than just maintain mediocrity now, because if Leicester have a bad season, which drops in, Everton do it, West Ham do it, you know, he'll get the sack. If they don't win anything, he's never going to be touted for the big jobs.
No,
you know, he's just going to fall into that place in the middle of the Premier League, and then when a Norwich or somebody need a manager, that's where they come. So from his own point of view, I feel he has to keep winning with Leicester, keep progressing, especially with the infrastructure that's been put in place there. There's not many managers even in the top half of the Premier League that probably get the backing in terms of what your owners give him, you know, and give the club and give the city almost.
Yeah.
So he's got all that behind him, and it's a case that he has to deliver. Otherwise, personally, he suffers, and if Leicester suffer, he gets the sack.
Yeah, I mean, you've only, I mean, I forgot what I was going to say now, but this is only the third time we've actually met in the FA Cup. After the first one, and Craig probably will remember this one. The first one was in 1901. And there was
I was on my paper round. I missed it.
Oh, right, damn. And a round 3 in 2012. So it's only the third time. It all adds to the glamour of it, of course. But who should we be watching out for from your team, Des?
Well, we've already mentioned there Spence and Brennan Johnson down that right-hand side. If you're not on your game, I'd love him to play someone like Perez, because he wouldn't know what's hitting him down that side. So those two in particular. Of course, we've got Worrell and Grabban out, like I mentioned. We seem to be solid all over the pitch for the Championship. The one that might be interesting on Sunday is Keenan Davis. We've signed him from Aston Villa. And he came and everybody's questioning his 3 goals in 60-something games or something over like that. But he's come to us. He scored 2 in his first 3. He looks really powerful, really direct, can run, can head, you know, can hold it up. Just do a bit of everything. It's probably impacted his game at Aston Villa. But in the Championship, with a bit of confidence and a few goals behind him now, it might just be the time for him to sparkle, and especially a big performance against the likes of yourself. Again, it's just going to take him perhaps to that next level. So he's somebody to be mindful of, especially if you're having defensive issues. A couple of weeks ago, we got absolutely bombarded at Millwall for the first 40 minutes. They did what Millwall do, you know, elbowed us, kicked us, ran at us. And then once he'd got hold of the ball after about 40 minutes, the game just turned around and it was us on them. And I kind of expect something similar on Sunday. So I think he's got a big part to play. Those two guys I mentioned down the right-hand side, as the more we can get the ball to Brennan Johnson, he'll make things happen. I'm estimating, because I don't know the actual stats, but I'd imagine he's involved in half of Forest goals. That many, so whether it's an assist or the build-up or actually tucking it away, he is so important. He's our best player by an absolute mile, Brennan Johnson.
Yeah. And Craig, who should Forest be on the lookout for? Who do you see doing a job for us? If they're picked, of course.
Well, that's it. If they're picked, just a quick one on Keenan Davis. I've seen a couple of games of Forest recently, and he's like a cross between, he's a young player, so he's not at their level, but the way he plays, he reminds me, he's like a cross between Lukaku and Antonio, I would say, that he likes the physical side of it. He loves the fact that if centre-halves are going to get up close to him, he'll love that battle in terms of rolling them and turning them and then laying it off. So he could be a handful for us.
Can I just say, someone I said he was similar to at that Millwall game I was talking about was someone you guys will know, Emioleschi.
Yes, yeah.
Kind of the Emioleschi mode.
Yeah, it was exactly that kind, isn't it? Get it into his feet and he'll roll you, and look to get away. But from our perspective, I mean, it'll be interesting to see where if Lookman plays, and if Lookman plays down the left-hand side, then he'll do a lot more tracking back in terms of looking after those two than Barnes will. So from your perspective, I would be hoping that Barnes plays down that left from your perspective, not from ours. But I think Daka could be a real pain in the backside for you. I'm not sure how much pace your back line have got, or whether Cooper likes to play with a high line or not. If he doesn't, you haven't got a lot of pace, then Daka will be looking to get in behind all the time. I think Maddison's on a great run of form at the moment, goal scoring wise, not just his performances, but goal scoring wise. So I think he'll definitely be one to look out for. And James Justin coming back as well. I can see him starting. Yeah. And he's making up for lost time. He has an outside chance. If he has a good end to the second half of the season, he still has an outside chance of that England squad for the World Cup. So I think he'll be targeting that. But the same with Maddison as well. I think that'll start getting into people's heads over the next few months. That there's a World Cup and it's at the end of this season almost. Or the end of the year. So yeah, definitely. I think for me, Daka, Maddison, Lookman, those three could cause you a lot of trouble.
Rogers is saying on the FA Cup, we want to fight to win this competition again. We fought so hard last season. It was such a memorable and iconic period for us, and we want that again. So he's sounding very positive about going for it. We didn't make any signings in the window, Craig. And Brendan's virtually come out and said we haven't got the money. And they haven't talked to Leipzig. I'm getting a little bit worried about whether Lookman's going to be signed or not.
I think it's a big second half of the season for him. I think he started very well. Then he had a bit of a lull, and he wasn't getting enough pitch time. But I think you've seen him grow in confidence over the past few games. Great performance against Liverpool with the goal, always, and played pretty much almost as a lone striker in that game against Liverpool. Usually he's a wide man, but he played him through the middle a lot on that day, and he was a handful because he's tenacious, and he's probably the one player who works harder than anyone to win the ball back if it's been lost, Lookman. So I think it's, if he wants a contract, he's got it in his own hands to be able to do it. So
my worry is whether we've got the money to pay for that contract.
To be honest, we've got things in the. Obviously, we spent a lot of money on the training ground. There's now a new stand to build and all that infrastructure that comes with that. But I think the owners know that you can't build all that if you then just cut all the playing investment. Yeah. Spurs did it, didn't they? I mean, Spurs got to a level where they were, could have won the Champions League. They've got this fantastic stadium, and then for a couple of seasons they decided that they weren't going to invest in the team anymore. So you drop back. I don't think our owners are that foolish to think that they can't continue to invest.
No. Before we come on to scores, Des, who from the Leicester side scares you?
Well, after listening to Craig and mentioning myself, I think that the key player for me will be Maddison, because Forest, the centre-backs don't play high. The full-backs play really, really high. Sort of, they're always on the halfway line at least. Yeah. So we switch between a 3 and a 2. I think probably Jack Colback will be looking to do a bit of a job on Maddison, but I think with his youth and his pace and his shooting ability, that could be a real key area. You know, if we let him have the ball too much, because the centre backs aren't particularly quick. You know, they've got some cracking players back there. We've got McKenna, who's like an 8 out of 10 every week for us at our level. And then we've got Steve Cook from Bournemouth, who's 30 and his legs are going a little bit. He just brings experience. So if you've got pace, again, you mentioned the guy there, Daka. Was it Daka or somebody you were saying was running behind? Anyone running in behind kind of scares me a little bit. But I think it might be a case that Forest drop deeper, a little bit deeper. We tend to play from the back like most teams do these days anyway. And it might be that area just in front of our defence and perhaps behind the midfield that it causes a lot of issue. You know, we played Derby a couple of weeks ago, and Tom Lawrence always causes us problems because he plays in that little position. You know, and I think it could be similar with Maddison.
Right. Oh, just checking here, Mark Lawrence, and I always hate Mark Lawrence and actually predicting us to win, because it usually means we're going on to lose. But he's gone for a 1-3 Leicester win as Mark Lawrenson. I think so. He thinks we'll just have too much for you. Is this going to be? I mean, I can see this going into extra time. Personally, somebody said earlier possibly penalties. Oh God, I'd hate that. How do you see the final result, Des?
Like I've touched on already, I think if Leicester score first, we're probably in trouble. We're probably struggling then, because we're going to have to open up, which Cooper will not do in the first half if he can help it. He'll let you have all the ball in the first half if that's what it takes to get a clean sheet. My head says a really tight. My heart says a really tight game that we're going to nick. My head says probably a draw. Probably go all the way. You know, if I think we'll just try and hang in there for as long as we can, like the Arsenal game. And my heart's saying a late winner, you know, and the same sort of scenes. But I can see with your issues, with one or two issues ourselves, it'll perhaps be a lot cagey, not a brilliant game. If we score first, I think it'll be a much better game all round. But I think if you score first, it might be a game over. The longer it's at 0-0, I can see it being really, really cagey and a bit tight.
Interesting.
But
I mean,
I'm going for 1-0.
1-0, right. Craig, I mean, it's on the BBC. Gary Lynn is going to present it. Hopefully the BBC know what they're doing this time and get the blue ribbons on the cup in the production room. But your prediction?
Yeah, I'm not sure Lineker's going to be there because I think he's got COVID, so he's out of it. Yeah.
Giving it out on Twitter though already.
Yeah. I've got a sneaky feeling this might be a repeat of the old LA Le Bleu and a 3-2 for Leicester.
Wow. I mean, for me, we're going to concede. I don't think there's any. I'd probably bet my mortgage on that. But I haven't got a mortgage, which is probably why I'd be safe to do it. I'm going to have to agree with Scott. I think it will be a tight game. I can't see us, pulling away. This is a Nottingham Forest side that are resurgent. I'd have probably sooner played, the Forest side from a few seasons ago. And I just I'm going to say 2-1, I think, but it will be very, very tight. And I can just see that we'll be bombarding the Forest goal, not scoring. Forest will get one. We'll get the equaliser. And as long as the referee remembers to blow the whistle at 90 minutes, I think we'll get the winner in extra time. But gentlemen, it has been a pleasure. Des, thank you, sir. I'd wish you all the best, and I would say that, let's hope football is the winner, but I wouldn't mean any of it. I want us to stuff you, as I'm sure you do us. But thanks very much for sparing the time to come on tonight. How can people find you on the old website, on the old interweb?
So I do a YouTube channel called Do Daily. It's completely different from football. Please subscribe. It's more about well-being, and I encourage activity and getting people out. I do a lot of walking and running. It's not about those things in particular. It's not about mental health. It's just about enjoying the things you kind of do. It's just me rambling for about 5 or 10 minutes every day at 8 o'clock. It's something I started in lockdown through COVID to support some projects locally, and I've just carried it on. It does wonders for me and my mental health, but it's just something that people can tune into and something different.
Yes. Well, the link is below in the description, so good luck with that. And like I say, and all the bad luck in the world on Sunday.
And we only ate Derby.
Well, we all ate Derby.
We all ate Derby. We've got that in common. Thanks very much, Des. Whatever you do, though, mate, stay safe.
Cheers, Des.
Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you. Craig, you're off to the baseball ground this evening, aren't you?
The baseball ground. Not the baseball ground, no. But I am out. I shall be out into the fair old city of Leicester this evening, yeah.
I thought you were going to a comedy club.
I see what you did there.
Yes.
You did me with the old baseball thing.
I only because I couldn't remember the name of the current one, and I realised you hadn't got it, so I thought I'd better explain.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. Yes, I shall be going and partaking of some comedy in the festival.
Brilliant. Well, we've watched a lot of it this season at King Power, unfortunately. Let's hope we turn up and the right Leicester turn up on Sunday. Mate, I'm going to let you go because I know you say you've got the comedy to go to. Have a really, really good night and happy birthday.
Cheers. Thanks, Chris. Really appreciate it. Thanks, everyone. Have a great evening and a great weekend.
Cheers. Thanks to Craig there, and thanks to Des, of course, for coming on. And I'm not going to play the Happy Birthday Craig song again because it just goes on and on and on. I'd forgotten how long it was, to be honest with you. But I'm going to play this again.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the main event of the evening. 60 minutes of football fun and banter with Chris and Leicester Till I Die TV. Are you ready? Let's get ready to rumble.
He's got Wood next to him. Anthony Knocker finds Wood. What's your score? Wood finds Knocker. Anthony Knocker has done it. Nottingham has been painted blue. Anthony Knocker has scored the goal. It's the goal. Allez le bleu. Allez le bleu. Forest 2, Leicester 3.
Loving more hating me in Stringer. By God, you got to love that. You really, really have. Don't forget the shop, Leicester Tiller, www.leicestertillidie.com/shop. Some of them are made to order. Some of them we've got in stock. Go and have a look at it. They're all there. Pens, fluffy toys, hoodies, crew tops, t-shirts. That's all there. Leicester Till I Die branded, and also How the Devil Are You branded as well. And if you are a member of the YouTube group here, if you're a member, you get a 5% discount. So it could be worth signing up. There are 3 memberships available, and one of them does get you a 5% discount. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you very much. Remember to press that like button. Even if you're a Forest fan, go on. Hands across the Trent, as they say. Give us a like. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. It really does help. And if you are listening on Spotify, on Catch Up, on Google Podcasts, or on Apple iTunes, to name just 3, we are are going to be live. Well, this will be uploaded again to listen to in about 10-15 minutes. Thank you very much for listening. I'm getting nervous. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to be, and oh yes, like I said, talking of nervous. Don't forget this. Join Chris and ex-City player Steve Lynex for the watch along from 3:30 on, was 3:15, 3:30, depending sort of how things are going on Sunday. Put the telly on, put your feet up, get a beer out, turn the sound down a little bit, and then just listen to me and Steve having a natter about the game as we go along. And I think we're going to be a little bit biased. So tune in for the watch along, and it's great to have an ex-player do a watch along with us. It really is. Thanks very much to everybody. I will see you then, and let's hope we are celebrating. Stay safe.
Thanks for watching Leicester Till I Die. This is Chris saying goodbye, and see you next time.
The Leicester Till I Die shop is now open. For all your Leicester Till I Die merchandise, visit the Leicester Till I Die shop at our website. Leicester Till I Die TV, your first choice for everything Leicester City. Tune in and join in now.
Leicester Till I Die podcasts on the Apple iTunes, Spotify, Google, Anchor, and all podcast platforms.
That's all, folks. Some people are on the pitch, they think it's all over. It is now.